Welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. In this video, I would like to highlight a great sports piece from Tudor. This is the Pelagos left-hand drive. Now, I know a lot of people want the Peli 39 or they like the standard black or blue. But you know what? I'm partial to the left-hand drive myself. I think it's a little bit different, a little bit quirky, and we are going to talk about the strengths as well as the weaknesses in this video. Before I jump into the details, let me first shout out Brent Miller Jewelers. They are the Tudor authorized dealer that lent this watch in for review. A great family-owned brick-and-mortar AD. A link will be in the description of the video. Now, this watch is crafted out of grade 2 titanium, so not the best grade of titanium, but it's found throughout the case. The bezel, it's found on the bracelet, it's found in the clasp. This will have a matte ceramic bezel insert, which I will note is fully lumed. And this watch, it's hard to beat in low light conditions. Very satisfying, very potent, and excellent longevity. The water resistance is 500 meters, which is far more than you will really ever need in a dive watch. And if you buy a standard Pelagos, that helium release valve is at the 9 o'clock side of the case. But here, because we have a flip-flopped orientation, it's found on the 3 o'clock side of the case. So if you are a right-hand dominant individual, but you wear your watches on the left side, and you wear a left-hand drive watch, it's kind of cool because the crown and crown guards are on the wrist side, which is opposite. Normally the crown is on the wrist side, so this actually feels very comfortable on wrist. If you move your wrist around, you're never going to feel the crown dig into the back of your wrist. Now, continuing here, this has one of the best clasps in the sports segment. So let's take a look at it. There will be a flip lock here that is secured with a ceramic detent system. There are also ceramic detent bearings for the main closure of the clasp. And then my favorite thing is the toolless position change for your micro adjustment system. Yes, there are only 3 positions, but once you get to the 3rd position, there's a spring-loaded system that is engaged. So, I mean, really, you get perfect, you get a perfect extension system in this clasp. And if that's not enough, there is also a dive suit extension. So if you want to take this diving, you don't have to take it off the bracelet and put it on the included rubber strap, even though Tudor does include that rubber strap for those of you that want to take it diving. Now, this will also have very satisfying bezel action. In fact, it's one of the best at around $5,000. It is a unidirectional rotating bezel. There will be 60 clicks and nice grip. Notice that the bezel actually flares out to a small degree beyond the case lines, so it's easy to get a hold of, to get traction of, and then of course that action is very mechanical feeling. And once you get back up to the 12 o'clock position, there's a greater degree of resistance, and so naturally you want to stop the bezel when it's perfectly aligned, and it's very hard actually to overspin the bezel when you're resetting your elapsed time after a timing event. So I've never seen that on another dive watch, and admittedly, I quite like it. Now continuing, this will have an MT5612 in-house movement that will be chronometer certified. There is a silicone hairspring, a free-sprung balance system set in a full balance bridge, and then there will be small screws within the balance that a watchmaker will thread in or thread out to adjust the inertia and regulate the movement. It is a nice, respectable, sophisticated system that will also have 26 joules. It beats at 4 hertz and will carry just shy of 3 days of power reserve, a value of 70 hours. So very nice movement. You will not be able to see it through a closed metallic case back. Now that brings me to the last point that I want to mention. It's the fact that this watch is very satisfying when you're considering all of the tactile elements here. So your crown, your thread down crown, very smooth action. In fact, I would say it feels a little bit more refined than the well-known cousin to this brand, Rolex. In fact, I prefer the action of the crown here on this Peli left-hand drive to the Submariner that I wore for years. So I really like that. The tactile action of the bezel is excellent. And then I think the thing that I don't want to get overlooked is just how excellent the clasp is with the ceramic detent, the spring-loaded action. There's a lot of engineering at play here, especially in the clasp, and I just think it's very satisfying. The last thing I would like to mention is the fact that this specific color configuration with the creamy tone lume, the red line of text, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more muted than the standard black and blue models, and I really like the fact that this carries a roulette date wheel. So all of the even days are done in red, all of the odd days are done in black, and I find that pretty fun myself. It's a nod to some of the watches that Rolex have released in years past with roulette date wheels. I don't believe, at least off the top of my head, I can't think of any Tudors that do this. So that's kind of cool. What are negative elements of this watch? I think the reflections off of the sapphire crystal could be dimmed down a bit with a better application of anti-reflective treatment. And that's a comment I make with a lot of watches. The other thing with Tudor, or at least with this specific Pelagos, is I've noticed just an unsatisfying amount of untidiness when it comes to the macro level in the detail work with the paint application or the lume application. And you don't notice it until you pull out a loupe or you get out a macro lens, which really very few people ever do with their watches. So I don't consider it a deal breaker. It's just a little bit disappointing on a watch that will retail for a little over $4,900 full retail. The last thing, and I think some of you might be typing this in the comments, it's specific to the Pelagos, but it's the fact that the Pelagos has so much text on the dial. In fact, it's almost a running joke in the watch collector community. There's just line after line of text. And you know what? It kind of reminds me of the paragraph of opening credits that happens in a Star Wars film, that crawl of credits. So I think it's a little bit comical myself, but I'm not going to knock it. I used to hate it. I used to think it was ridiculous, but I've gotten to the point where there's just so much text that I almost want to egg Tudor on a little bit more and say, you know what, give me another line. There's still a small amount of space left. Let's see how much text we can place. You know, I kind of find the quirkiness appealing now, whereas a few years ago, I thought it just looked ridiculous. So that's where I'm sitting with that. On the whole, I think for about $4,900, it's hard to beat this with the titanium, with the left-hand drive configuration, with the excellent movement, the excellent lume, the above average tactile interaction when it comes to the bezel or the clasp or the crown. I like the included rubber strap. I really like everything about the watch. There are a few negative elements, but I don't think that there are many perfect watches out there. And as a rule, I think the Pelagos, especially this left-hand drive, is very strong. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll do my best to answer those questions in the comment section of this video. Thank you again for watching. Again, shout out to Brent Miller Jewelers. Links in the description. I'll see you guys next time.